What's up, girls? I just read the best book I've read in a while, Stoner by John Williams. Um, it was written in 1956. He also wrote Butcher's Crossing and Augustus. I loved this book. Read the first half in one sitting, finished it the next day. It's about 300 pages. I had a couple friends recommend this book to me, and I bought it a couple years ago actually, and it's been like one of those books like sitting in my bookcase for a while that like I always was like kind of interested in reading, but there was always something more pressing. And when I finally got around to it, I was just like completely floored by how good it was. It's so interesting because it is hyper realistic, and it still has like unbelievable plot propulsion. Uh, Even though like if I were to explain the premise, in a few words to someone, they would be like, that doesn't sound interesting at all. But basically, it's about a guy who, at about 20 years old, grew up on a farm. At about 20 years old, he went to the University of Missouri to study agriculture, fell in love with English, became a professor, and it kind of tracks through the trajectory of his life. And it was so well written. Everything about it. It's hard to even kind of like review a book like this, I feel like. The prose was very sparse and restrained, but every sentence it feels like is accomplishing multiple things at once, which to me is what good prose does. Like John Williams will create a character and kind of help you understand who the character is by giving them a flaw or like some kind of deformity. And so it feels totally relevant that he would include this information for character development. And then, unbeknownst to you, it will become very relevant to the plot later on. And, it's kind of interesting to read like a modern novel. I went to film school at USC, and the number one thing they teach you for building plot is that you need to have a character that really wants something, and then basically put obstacles in their way, and then they ultimately get what they want or don't get what they want or lose themselves in the process or whatever. But this was a book where I feel like all of the wants of the protagonist, William Stoner, are just kind of assumed human wants. Like, he wants to be good at his job, and he wants to have friends, and he wants to get married and have a family and kids and be in love. And, both world wars take place throughout the course of the book. He's conflicted about honor, patriotism, how the other guys around him react to the world wars. He's conflicted about leaving his farming roots and his family there, even though he loves English literature. It's just so it's very profound. And it's not just that it's like holistically very satisfying. The structure is great, but it also has like paragraph to paragraph, there are very true things I feel like said about life that I like resonated with a lot. There would be a line like he's sleeping with a student at the college, and another male student sees him coming out of the younger quarters or whatever, and goes, William Stoner, I didn't know he had it in him. Colored half with envy and half with contempt. So it like very much acknowledges like a lot of the conflicted feelings we have about the things that happen. And because William Stoner is kind of this like very observant, literature professor, he's like hyper perceptive. And so viewing his world through his eyes, is very interesting. and he does still have some problems, and I feel like a lot of his problems are like very true masculine problems. Like, either he'll kind of fall on his own sword sometimes because he thinks it's the right and proper thing to do, even if maybe it's, the bad thing for everybody involved, in some ways that he doesn't advocate for himself, or, he won't play social games because he views them to be wrong, even though it's kind of just a principle he's fighting for. And, no one would really get... It's interesting. He gets in his own way in a few very relatable human ways. And I think we can all be that way sometimes. Yeah, it was a very, very exciting read. I felt like, sometimes I'll just be reading books that are like pretty good or like important to the canon of literature, and I'm kind of like going along doing my thing, and it can feel a little bit like work sometimes. And then I'll like find a book like this, and I feel like it re-energizes all of my feelings about literature. So, Stoner by John Williams. Definitely check it out. Highly recommend. And thanks for watching.